guys, welcome back to our garden update video series. Today we're just going to share about everything that we got to do this past week. We really started a lot of our garden beds. It's a little bit later than we would have liked to, but we got a ton going and we're really excited to talk to you about the methods that we use to do those. We're using no-till methods, so we're putting cardboard down and using microbial solutions, bring life to the soil, and we're gonna talk about some hugelkultur stuff that we're doing, so stay tuned for that. So before we even started making our garden beds, where we knew that we wanted to make them, we just spread tarp. And the reason that we did that was to slow down and kind of just generally suppress the weeds. We've still got tarp laid out in certain areas that we have yet to plant in. But this week we got to take off the tarp. We made a microbial solution, or it's also called the JMS or Jadam microbial solution. And we watered that in to all of the areas that we're going to plant in. And then we brought the tarp back over until we were ready to start making our beds. So for our first section, we were blessed to have these raised beds, multiple raised beds left from the previous owner. The beds were a little low in their soil, so we actually just took all the soil out, and then we brought in some pretty old, like aged logs. We had a couple truckloads full of logs that we got to bring in. We put the logs in, and then we also put in a bunch of dried leaves, and then we put the soil back on top of that. And this is just this is called hugelkultur. We've got a video on just exactly how to do that, or how you might be able to do that. But this is what we did here, and that just really helped kind of beef up our soil. And over time, the carbons below the soil will decompose. It's going to actually help establish nice microbial networks and mycelium networks and whatnot. So we're really happy about how those turned out. In the raised beds, we ended up planting onions, leeks, carrots, Napa cabbage, green onions, and chives. And so I think we probably planted upwards of 100 yellow onions. We've got, I'm not sure how many green onions or bunching onions. Probably planted close to 50 leeks and several rows of carrots. So we're excited to see how those do throughout the season. Those are just some of our favorite veggies to grow and eat. So we're really excited about that. The reason that we're growing Napa cabbage is because I really like to make kimchi. So we'll actually have videos on that in the future of how we use our Napa cabbages to make kimchi, or other cabbages to make sauerkraut, but these are just foods that we really enjoy. Then we've got the area right next to that we're just calling the veggie patch. For this method, we've done this a lot in the past. This is one of our preferred kind of methods for creating new garden beds. And it's very simply, you just lay down cardboard, which will act as a biodegradable weed suppressor, weed mat. Basically what happens there is, as the weeds try to sprout and find the light, they will just hit the bottom of the cardboard and they'll stop and not be able to go any further. They'll expend their energy, they'll dig deep into their taproots, spend all of their resources trying to do that. Meanwhile, by next season, hopefully all the cardboard will have decomposed and will actually help feed the organic matter in our soil. So we put down the cardboard first, and then we ordinarily would like to put down a really thick layer of compost, like 6 inches if we're starting a brand new garden bed. In this case, we didn't have the compost. We can't really afford to buy in a lot of compost, so we're relying mostly on homemade, but we just basically spread it out at probably about an inch, just enough to weigh down the cardboard so that the wind doesn't blow it away. And then that is what forms our beds. In the pathways, we have some really nice, heavily decayed wood chips on our property that were just left here. The wood chips, it almost feels wrong to use them in our pathways because they're so well decomposed. There's a lot of, it's very rich material. So I set some aside as well to kind of use in other projects, but we're using those in the pathways and we really appreciate that aesthetic. In the veggie patch, we are growing cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and basil. With cucumbers and tomatoes especially, you need a trellis. And so again, we're trying to do this as cheaply as possible. We just don't have a ton of expendable income to put into this. So we kind of looked for resources around our property that we could use to actually just make a makeshift trellis. I fashioned one that looks extremely spindly. I'm hoping that it actually stays up. It's sturdier than it looks. But I basically just took like dead branches or shoots that I wanted to trim off of a lot of our lilac bushes and one of our maples on our property. I attached them using twine and then kind of put a cross beam in. And basically all I'm doing is running string down to a stake that's near the base of a cucumber plant or a tomato plant, and I'm tying that, and then that is what the plant will be able to wind kind of around, is the string. It can wind all the way up the trellis. Hopefully we'll have good things to show you as the season progresses and see how those are working. Another thing that we did as we were planting all of our tomato and pepper and cucumber plants, we made sure to dig out the hole, and then we have an abundance of worm castings, and so we just took a small handful and put that in to the hole, and then kind of covered it with a little bit of dirt, put the transplant into the hole, and that's just going to give it an initial boost of nutrients and health for the plant. Ordinarily, if we were able to start maybe even like a full year ago, we could lay the compost down as we did here, and then by that point the cardboard would be decomposed. But as it is now, we have to actually just cut holes in the cardboard, and then dig the hole in there to be able to plant our cucumber plant or tomato plant or whatever. So that's just something that if you're doing it this way, you will definitely need to make a slit in the cardboard.
And then our final thing that we worked on so far is what we're calling our garage bed. It's right in front of the garage. We call it our squash bed because it's all of our squashes. So we got our pumpkins, we got our zucchini, our summer squash, we've got butternut squash, and then we're also going to grow a row of sunflowers in the back because it's just this beautiful white garage wall. So I thought just add living art, so you can look at it and it's beautiful. Also attract pollinators. When I was digging in to plant, there were quite a bit of roots. There's a pine tree pretty close, so we'll see how it goes.
We probably wouldn't want to try and grow root vegetables in that area because they're sending a big mass into the soil. But for squashes, where most of it is above ground, we're hoping.
Something I did this season is I waited till now to start my sunflower seeds. The reason for that is that it's more recommended to direct sow sunflowers. I also did this with zinnia seeds. I just started my zinnia seeds. Zinnia seeds are also recommended to direct sow. But the problem with direct sowing that I encounter is that animals eat the seeds. You have to keep the soil moist all the time until the seed sprouts. And so I can't quite do that right now in this season of life, be like babysitting soil moisture and putting frost cloth on and all that. My solution was to start the seeds in a moist towel in a plastic bag. Actually doing that with a lot of our seeds that I've started, and I find that to be an exceptionally helpful technique because you see exactly what seeds are like sprouting, and you don't have to plant the ones that aren't. So you plant all the sprouted seeds. I just pop them in mini soil blocks, all the sunflower seeds and the zinnia seeds, because I'm not planning on having them in the soil block for very long. That's my hybrid alternative to direct sowing, is because you don't want to disturb sunflower and zinnia roots too much, and so the soil block will help not disturb, but then I also am making sure that I actually have germination on these seeds. That's been my solution to like getting lots of sunflowers, because I want a big show. I want it to be lots and lots of sunflowers, super showy. We ended up with, oh my gosh, probably 3 trays of 240 sunflowers. 240 sunflowers each tray.
Yeah.
So that's what we've been up to this week. It's been a lot of hard work on top of continuing to unpack, on top of working, on top of having 2 small children under 3. So we are pretty busy. We have busy lives, but it's great.
Yeah.
We're really enjoying it.
It's great. It's
I really have no complaints. No complaints at all. Yeah.
It just feels so great every time we walk outside.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more of this content in the future.